Okay, welcome everyone. We'll call tonight's regular meeting of council to order. Recommendation that the agenda for the regular council meeting of June 13th, 2016 be adopted as presented, having amended the following agenda items. 9A, by tabling the adoption of the City of Prince Rupert Impact Assessment Bylaw number 3393, 2016 until after the rescheduling of the public hearing. 9B, by tabling the third reading and adoption of the City of Prince Rupert Quality of Life Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 3394, 2016 until after the rescheduling of the public hearing. 9F, by tabling the first, second, and third readings of the proposed park dedication, removal, and disposal bylaw number 3379, 2015 for the purpose of obtaining required information. Moved by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Cunningham. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3A, recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting of May 30th, 2016 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Nish, second by Councillor Renhawa. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Item 3B, the recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 30th, 2016 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Nish, seconded by Councillor Cunningham. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And item 3C, recommendation of the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of May 30th, 2016 be received. Moved by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Cunningham. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, first we have a report from the communications manager regarding the 2015 annual report.
Hi there. So the preparation of the annual report is a statutory requirement of the community charter. The scope of the report is specified in the charter, and it's also on, I think, the first or second page of the annual report itself. The City of Prince Rupert must also set the date, time, and place of an annual public meeting for consideration of the report in accordance with the provisions of the Act regarding public notice. The meeting allows the public to make submissions and ask questions about the report, which is now available online, and it will be available at the front desk, reception areas of City Hall. The date of the annual meeting must be at least 14 days after the annual report is available for public inspection. The annual report, like I mentioned, will be on the city's website under notices, and printed copies will be available for public inspection as of tomorrow, but it's also just out there today already, so it's available for viewing. The annual report was attached to council packages, and our recommendation is to approve the circulation of the 2015 annual report and set the date of June 27th, 2015 for the public meeting on the annual report.
Okay, moved by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Nish on the recommendation. Any further discussion?
I always want to think that the annual report is one of the most important documents that the city puts out. It's a report, it has what the finances are. People want to know what we have spent our money on. There's very detailed financial statements included in the financial report. It also sets out what our objectives were for 2015, how we've measured against our objectives, and what the objectives are for 2016. So I think that this is a bit of a different format than previous ones, but I think it's a very important document, and I think, Your Worship, that we should encourage people in Prince Rupert to read this document, because it is the annual report of the city, and it's not just another report. It is the annual report that sets out what our strategies were and how well we've measured against them, and what the strategies will be or the strategic topics for the future, and how we're going to meet those.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 6B, a report from the city planner regarding the application for development variance permit 924 Ambrose Avenue. And who would be reporting on that tonight then? Mrs. Bauman? Yourself? Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Krekic has asked in his absence for me just to present his report as presented to Council. The reason for the report is on May 18th, 2016, there was an application received for a development variance permit for the property located at 924 Ambrose Avenue. The full application is included in the attachment 1 as in Council's packages. The background is the subject property is located at 924 Ambrose as illustrated in attachment number 2 in Council's packages. The proposed variance for a new deck would encroach into the front yard setbacks. Application is to vary the section 5.2.4A front yard setback from 3.6 meters, which is 11.8 feet, to 1.2 meters, which is 3.8 feet. The result will not adversely affect the viewscape of the street as illustrated on the photograph included in attachment number 3. There are no costs or budget impacts to the city from granting or not granting the variance, and this application requires approval to proceed to public notification. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Okay, recommendation that the development variance permit application number DP 1609 for 924 Ambrose Avenue proceeds to the public notification process. Moved by Councillor Renhala, seconded by Councillor Niche. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, moving on to resolutions from closed meetings. Mr. Mandrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the May 9th, 2016 closed meeting of Council, the following resolution was made and is now being released. Moved by Councillor Cunningham and seconded by Councillor Thorkelson that Council appoints the following individuals to the Prince Rupert Library effective immediately. Ms. Heather Rose, Ms. Andrea Wilmot, and Jagdev Upal, and that Council reappoints the following individuals effective August 8th, 2016, Devlin Fernandez and Mr. Dale White, and that Council further appoints the following individual effective August the 8th, 2016, additionally as Shiwana Gupta, and that Council release this information at a future regular meeting of Council. Further to that, at the May 30th, 2016 closed meeting of Council, the following resolution was made and it is now being released. It was moved by Councillor Kinney and seconded by Councillor Moreau. The Council awards the building of the 2016 custom pumper truck to Rocky Mountain Phoenix, Rosebauer, and approve financing the truck through the Municipal Finance Authority, and that Council release this resolution at a future regular meeting of Council, and that was carried by all. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 9C, report from the Fire Chief regarding the Emergency Management Program Bylaw number 3392. And the recommendation is that Council adopts the Emergency Management Program Bylaw number 3392, 2016. Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Moreau. Any further discussion on this matter? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 9D, report from the Director of Recreation and Community Services regarding recreation fees and charges amendment bylaw number 3395, 2016. Welcome back.
Thank you. So the recommendation from staff is that Council give first, second, and third readings to the Recreation Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 3395, 2016. So the reason for the report is that on February 9, 2016, Council adopted the Recreation Fees and Charges Bylaw number 3383, 2015. And in that bylaw, there was not a specific cap identified in the space rental rates. So as a result, we would leave ourselves exposed to potential space rental rate increases of upward of 75% in some cases. To ensure that the increase in space rentals maintains a manageable rate, I'm coming forward recommending to Council today that we obtain a maximum or suggest a maximum increase of 10% to the space rentals proposed. In addition, the language and the definitions regarding additional family members indicated in the first recommendation that there was some discrepancy over age. So the amendment indicates a suggestion that we allow an additional family member of any age to be considered an additional family member. So it wouldn't be, regardless of age, any additional family member would be included. So these two amendments would ensure that A, our rates stay as manageable as they can, and B, that the additional family members are as accessible as possible to the community.
Councillor Cunningham.
In the original bylaw, the increase was 5%. Am I not correct for fees?
Yeah, so the all of the admissions increased by 5%. So specifically, we're speaking to the space rental rates that we adjusted to reflect a per square foot rate. Since previous rates, we we couldn't identify what the unit of measure was. So sitting down with the Recreation Commission, it was determined that let's find a standardized unit of measure where space rental being calculated by square foot ensured that our community members were paying only for what they needed, rather than having, you know, a vastly different size space at a grossly misidentified rate. So essentially aligning it so that we can back out of all of our rates to show our local taxpayers that this is exactly what the units of measure are for every space, and that our community is only paying for what they need. So with that adjustment to the unit of measure being per square foot, the increase is increased more than 5%.
Okay, what I'm getting at is like minor basketball. They're going to get a 10% increase on their rental fees for the year. Now, how's that going to affect the fees they charge their members? Will their membership fees be going up that much more?
I don't expect it. I don't have copies of what the local minor sport organizations charge each of their members. Had it stayed as the original without the incorporation of a cap, obviously those rates would be grossly overstated. So I'm confident that that 10% increase would result in a minimal impact, but I do not have the specific numbers of what that might be.
Councillor Cunningham.
You haven't talked to the actual individual groups to see what impact it would have on their program?
In meeting with those specific individuals, so for instance, the local minor basketball organization attending the most recent Recreation Commission meeting indicated that that sort of change would not severely impact them, no.
And the good news here ultimately was that if you look at things like the auditorium, the gymnasium, and the gym half and full courts, without the cap, the jump is too significant. So that's kind of why it is being proposed, so it is manageable for them.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that. I'm just, the one thing I don't want to see is in some of these programs that the membership has to be increased more than the 5% that we were originally looking at, even though the square foot rate's going up 10%. I'd hate to see the actual individual membership going up too high, that we're going to start losing participants in it.
I agree 100%. And also we're working with the local minor sport organizations and the Recreation Commission with the provincial governing body of kids sport to institute a local chapter, a local kids sport chapter in Prince Rupert, so that if there are, and I'm sure there are families that are unable to access current minor sport organizations and their offerings, we're working closely with those groups to erect a local chapter, and staff will be working closely to ensure that that organization gains traction as well, to ensure that we can eliminate as many barriers as possible.
Councillor Niche?
I was under the understanding also that it was like we kind of were working with a 5% increase, and now asking for 10% to me seems maybe a little bit high. Is this something that's going to be a yearly thing, or because to me, if you're dropping 10% on for the next 5 years, it's a lot of increase, and I was under the assumption that this was more of a 5% increase annually, and not if this is going to be yearly. That's too much in my eyes.
That's a good point. And so just for clarity's sake as well, that the original Schedule B that was approved or adopted by council originally actually reflects that upward of 75% increase. So essentially what I'm coming back to articulate is that has been reduced, and so the maximum space rental increase would be 10% of the 2015 rates, and after that it's a 5% increase. So it's actually a decrease from what was initially adopted by council.
It may have been adopted that way, but the general feeling is that we were voting for a 5% increase. Now, maybe it was misworded, or we adopted it with not the wording that we wanted, but we were adopting that, as far as I remember, with a 5% increase, and now making it 10% a year is it's a dramatic step up, another 5% more each year for the next 5 years, and I do feel that our intention, even though what was adopted, I believe our intention was 5%, and I'm sure other people may have something to speak, but it was a number that came to Barry's head, and it was a number that I was thinking as he was speaking that also. So I understand what you're saying about what we adopted, but I don't think that it's right that we just say, oh, well, we adopted 75%, but we'll just make it 10%. My view is that the 5% is what our intention was, and I think that's what we should be sticking with here, and not, because 10% a year for the next 5 years, that's a big hit for big groups. I mean, whether it's minor hockey or figure skating or whatever, I mean, it's a big amount of money and they pay a lot of money, and I don't think that we should go ahead with 10.
We'll go Councillor Ranawa, then Councillor Cunningham.
Yeah, like my question was same, like 10%, right? So basically, it will be, other one be 25%, right? Increase in 5 year, this one be 30%, right? Because first year 10%, right? So I just want to see, Mr. Mayor, like how much impact it will on different organization like basketball before we go through this one, because especially for basketball, lots of people are on limited incomes, and I like to see like how much impact will go on that one.
Well, one of the reasons why we are here today is because the impact right now is too significant, as we had previously adopted. Well, it was, I'm not sure how I get the intention we had. However, the way it was written was that those particular 3 rentals did take a 75% increase jump, and then the basketball league kind of did come back and say, hey, this particular, everything else is fine, it's these items. So recreation director's coming back saying, okay, let's make a change, and we can amend it to make it 5%. So that's our business on item 2. There's 3 items here. We can make an amendment to do 5%. That's our call for that. But this will get us back in line where they want us to be and what is fair. And so I think maybe just a bit of an oversight on our part.
Okay, I'd like to make that amendment that it's a 5% increase for.
Okay, so Councillor Cunningham is making an amendment for item 2 on your recommendation, that those sections in Schedule B will be capped at a maximum of 10% increase of the 2015 rates. Okay, and seconded by Councillor Niche. Yes, 5%. Yeah, and that will be seconded by Councillor Niche. Okay. Okay, so we have the amendment on the floor.
I'm just wondering, what will that do to your budget?
We've actually budgeted based on that minimal 5% increase. So it will have 0 impact on the budget, potentially.
Okay. Councillor Cunningham?
Also, this is a lesson for us as a council to read things a little more closely, because all of us miss this. It was one of those things until it was pointed out to us. None of us had seen it. And, and I looked through the papers and that and didn't notice it either, and I don't think anyone else on council did. And it's just one of those things that we'll just have to, as a new council, we've got to read the fine print sometimes, I guess.
Okay, so all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So I will, as a friendly amendment, friendly gesture here, Councillor Mr. Mandrick, I believe that would be a motion to do first, second, third reading as with the amendment.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, a report from our Director of Operations next. Item 9E, regarding the Building Amendment Bylaw number 3396, 2016.
Thank you, Your Worship. The recommendation is that Council give first and second readings to the proposed Building Amendment Bylaw 3396, 2016. The Engineering Department in 2012 did a new building bylaw. During that update, there was something that was inadvertently missed. It was the use and placement of shipping containers, the use and placement of accessory buildings and temporary buildings. So what we'd like to do is put back into the building bylaw, which it would be 3396 2016, a temporary use permit that would be allowing a 6-month period for the applicant to have a shipping container on their property. They would be allowed to do an application for an additional 6 months, but that would be the max. They are considered temporary buildings because they are over 100 square feet and they do require building permits. They are currently not allowed in residential zoning areas, but this will allow them to be permitted in those areas. They would also have to state where they would be put on the property, and also we would take a $2,000 certified check that as a deposit that would be returned once we have confirmed that the shipping container has been removed. Typically, these containers are now being used for storage. So what we sort of envision them being used for is during construction, with people are doing renovations, they like to take some of their belongings, put them in storage. And so this would allow people to use that for up to a year to be able to do these renovations. Thank you.
Councillor Cunningham?
Where would an 8x10 container fall then? It's under 100 feet.
It wouldn't fall in under this here, but they are not allowed under our current zoning bylaw. So they would not be permitted.
Okay, and there's no grandfathering or anything in this?
No, we are proposing to go and take a look to see where people have existing containers in residential areas, take note of them, and issue letters of the new amendment bylaw.
Okay, the recommendation is that council give first, second, and third readings to the proposed building amendment bylaw number 3396, 2016. Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Cunningham. Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to items 11A, Housing Committee report. So the Housing Services report, I believe, is completed. I was expecting to have it today. However, the consultant is on holidays and will be returning sometime in June. So hopefully that comes in. But I also, one thing that we have been working on a little bit in the background that is now public knowledge is a proposal coming to the King Edward site. The Metlakatla Development Corporation owns that site, and we've been working with them on some ideas around what that lot would look like. And one of the ideas that has emerged is a seniors care / home facility on that site. And so the Metlakatla Development Corporation is asking the public to participate in what this could look like. Is this the type of housing that you'd like to see there? And so I have some dates for the public here. It's on, there's a time, different times though here. And the times are, so we have Wednesday, June 22nd at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. at the Crest, and also Thursday, June 23rd at 10 a.m. at the Crest as well. And there's a contact information that you can contact Sean Thomas at 778-629-1004 for any further information. And I think this is a very positive step forward for the community.
What was that time on the 22nd?
It's 2 and 7 p.m. at the Crest. And then on the 23rd at 10 a.m. And that's my report. Good. Oh, also, we've made an application for the new Affordable Housing Fund from the province, or from BC Housing. The province announced, I believe it was something 300 million or 500 million towards affordable housing over the next 5 years. And so we've made our application for help to get some affordable housing money into the community. And so we'll wait back, and I'll be following up with BC Housing this week on that. Okay, moving on to item 11B. So we have a notice of motion. And so from Councillor Thorkelson, so I'll read the motion out here today. And so it's regarding a tanker ban and on the Enbridge resolution. So whereas the City of Prince Rupert is on record from February 2012 being opposed to any expansion of bulk crude oil tanker traffic as well as bitumen export in Dixon Entrance, Hecate Strait, and Queen Charlotte Sound in British Columbia. and the City of Prince Rupert petition the federal government to establish a legislative ban on bulk crude oil tanker traffic and bitumen export through Dixon Entrance, 2nd Strait, and Queen Charlotte Sound in British Columbia. And whereas the Enbridge Northern Gateway project approval from the National Energy Board, NEB, is expected to expire December 31st, 2016 as a result of sunset clauses, and Enbridge has applied to the National Energy Board for a 3-year extension to these sunset clauses, and whereas the NEB is looking for input from public before deciding whether to extend the sunset clauses for the Enbridge Northern Gateway pipeline project and will accept comments from the public until June 27, 2016, and whereas, if granted, the extension to the sunset clauses would require approval from the federal government, and whereas Prime Minister Trudeau has mandated his fisheries minister to formalize a moratorium on crude oil tanker traffic on British Columbia's north coast, including the Dixon Entrance, Hecate Strait, and Queen Charlotte Sound, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prince Rupert write the NEB and the federal government asking them to reject the request for an extension to the Enbridge Northern Gateway project sunset clauses, and at the same time inform the NEB and the federal government of the city's support for a legislative ban on oil tanker traffic through Dixon Entrance, Hecate Strait, and Queen Charlotte Sound in British Columbia. And that is the motion. Any seconders?
Are you moving it?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Why don't you speak to that for a second?
Well, if you're moving it, then I was seconding it. If you're not moving it, then I'll move it.
I'll move it.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, discussion.
I think that my only comment on this particular motion is that the call from the NEB was quite clear that they don't intend to rehear any issues that they've already deliberated on. I don't see us necessarily having any new information to provide, and frankly, I don't think that a letter of this nature really deals with our jurisdiction as the City of Prince Rupert. So those are basically my comments. So. Again, but democracy rules, so if anyone else has any comments, I'd like to hear them.
Any further discussion?
I just like to say that we deal with lots of things that are outside our jurisdiction, and I think that's because we represent the people of Prince Rupert, and so I think we've given advice to the government on a number of issues that would impact us, and certainly an oil tanker spill would impact us. So I just think that the National Energy Board has put out a notice to the public whether to extend Enbridge's time period or not, and I think that we should have our say into whether they should extend that time period to Enbridge. I believe that we should not. So that's why I brought this forward. I really spent a long time involved in looking at the impacts on the local area, and I'm convinced that the impacts, if there was an oil spill in the local area, would be devastating and long and will happen. And the effects will be long felt by our communities.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Thorkson's motion, and whatever she said, I agree with that.
Okay. Yep. Nope. Okay. So all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Actually, sorry. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Okay, any reports, questions, or inquiries from members of council? Councillor Thorkinson.
I just wanted to let council know that I was in Ottawa last week regarding adjacency, owner-operator, and fleet separation. The motion that the council passed regarding the commercial fishing industry and the impacts of the cannery closure in our community. And I thought a couple of things of interest. One is that the federal Liberals passed a motion at their Winnipeg Convention in 2016 that calls on the principle of adjacency to be applied in every coastal community in British Columbia when it comes to the commercial fishery. So that's their party policy. Now, one of the problems is that the government, the Standing Committee on Fisheries provided a number of pieces of case law that says that adjacency is not a federal, cannot be legislated federally when it comes to processing plants. And but we have asked them to consult with the city, since they have primary control of the resource, that they should consult with the province and have a look at, and with the city, and have a look at what kinds of adjacency could the province encourage the fish companies to do. And certainly the government of the federal government could do that through licensing of fishing vessels, but that's pretty high-handed. It would probably be better to be able to have an adjacency clause we would all agree with. So what we think is reasonable is that there, and what we asked for, the ask of the standing committee, was that the Department of Fisheries or the standing committee or the minister, but somebody, have a commission of inquiry to come out to the coast and with three principles. One, fleet separation. The three principles are East Coast principles: fleet separation, which is separating the ownership of the fleet from the corporate processing structure; owner-operator, which means the owner of the vessel has to fish the vessel, or the owner of the license has to fish the vessel; and adjacency, that they come out to this coast and see how we would build a made-in BC solution to the issues of our processing capacity, leaving our small communities, and the ownership of licenses being corporatized more and more. So we've asked for that, and we've asked for community engagement. And on the East Coast, community engagement is always high. They always go to communities and ask the communities themselves what they think, as represented by their elected leadership. And we've asked we've also asked the House of Commons Standing Committee on Fisheries and Oceans to mandate whatever kind of a commission that is to come out here to also talk to communities. So hopefully that's what the decision will be. We're still negotiating on that, but we're hoping that that we do have inquiry, commission of inquiry, or commission, some kind of a commission, whatever they want to call it, come out and have a discussion on how to make fishing communities benefit from the resource that is being caught next door to them.
Great, thank you. Councillor Cunningham.
Would it help in any way, Councillor Thorkelson, if the city were to actually write to the minister asking him to come out here and speak to council as well?
Well, it never hurts to have a minister, and this minister, we don't know how long he's going to be in. There's rumors that he likes the portfolio and he'd like to give up his House leadership portfolio, or that he's going to keep his House leadership portfolio and he's just interim. Right now he's just an interim fisheries minister. His father was Romeo LeBlanc, who was one of the big architects of protection of communities on the East Coast. He was the one that built the owner-operator fleet separation provisions on the East Coast, and his son Dominic is the one who's now the interim fisheries minister. So at least he understands the impact of fisheries on communities. And so they were aware, Councillor Cunningham, of Prince Rupert's resolution, and in their research report they commented on the fact that we had made a resolution and had sent it in, as well as the Chamber of Commerce and many of the local First Nations. So they were aware that there was tremendous community concern on this issue. So I don't think it hurts to ever have a letter to the ministers, particularly this minister, inviting him to the coast to come and listen to our concerns. Whether he'll come or not is another matter.
I would like to see that letter sent then, if possible.
Sure, yeah. So I'll move to write a letter to the fisheries minister, invite him to Prince Rupert.
I'll second it.
Second by Councillor Cunningham. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, any other items?
Just one other, I'd like to know the policy we have for hiring on our ferry, whether it's full-time employment or casual or temporary, if I could get that information.
Sure, Ms. Baumann, maybe we can...
I'm sorry, I missed that part.
I'd like to get the policy we use on our ferry for hiring full-time employees and temporary or casual employees.
Councillor Manala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two questions. One is like about the Roosevelt School field. Like if we have any plans to upgrade like drainage, that field is used by many kids and softball and soccer guys. If we have any plan to upgrade that field in near future.
We can bring that information back to council.
And second is like about our marina. Is our rates comparable to other docks like on Fairview and New Floats, like on that one or no?
I'm sorry, are you asking if the rates are comparable? Yes. Our marina is, as far as I understand it, is a full-service marina. So we have washing facilities. There's washroom facilities as well. There's Wi-Fi, that sort of thing. So I think there's a little bit more involved with our marina. So therefore, when we did do the research of the rates, we were comparable to other marinas that were offering the same service.
Okay, any other reports from council? Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Kenny, second by Councillor Cunningham. All those in favor? Motion is adjourned. Meeting adjourned.